Hey guys, it's Mark. Welcome back to the channel. So if you're redoing a Promaster like we are, actually I'm sure it's the same with any of the other vehicles, there's all these weird kind of areas, these kind of structural pieces that you've got to work around. You've either got to frame around, just really not sure how to handle it. One of them for the Promaster is above the sliding door. Another one is this vertical column that sits just to the right of the sliding door. And another one is right up here. So Tanya and I did not plan on attacking this just yet, but we thought once we put the cabinets up, how are we going to reach this thing? So we shifted gears away from the cabinets and we went ahead and finished this. And in this video, we're going to show you how we did it. So hopefully if you like it, you can do the same thing. So before anything, if you like this kind of content, please give us a thumbs up and go ahead and subscribe if you haven't already done so. So I've spent the better part of today staring at this piece right here, trying to figure out how we were going to cover that up. I've seen different things. I've seen people put a carpet over it. I've seen people build a box around it. I've seen a bunch of different things, and I thought I would do the box. So I started basically by figuring out that this piece kind of slopes up. It's not parallel to the floor, so I kind of figured out what that angle was, and that was totally wrong. So basically I just played with my table saw blade angle until I think I got it pretty much right, and then I basically took a 1x6, put it here, a 1x6, put it here, and then I really just started hacking away until I got something that is pretty close. So let me show you what that looks like. So I basically made two of these out of some select pine that I had left over, and there is really no rhyme or reason or function to any of it. I cut it to length, and then I started basically using every wood cutting tool I have in the garage to figure out how to piece this in place. You notice that the end of it is beveled to match that, and this piece will fit right here, and there is one for the opposing side. Between them I will probably put a strip of wood, and then I will table saw the whole thing down to whatever width I want, and I'm probably gonna have to figure out what to stick up here. I'm gonna have to scribe it to the ceiling, but that is basically the start. It took me probably the last 3.5 to 4 hours to figure out how to do this. No rhyme or reasons, just a lot of cuts and a lot of time. So I'm going to go ahead and put a piece of wood. I've measured that the distance between where this piece ends and this piece ends is 12 3/4. I cut a piece of wood 12 3/4, and I'm going to go ahead and attach them right now. So I'm going to take the two pieces and pocket screw them together. I'm not really sure this is going to work, to be honest. I put the pocket screws down toward the bottom because in case I want to cut the length of this, I want to be able to cut it without going through one of those pocket screws. And this is all going to be painted white, so it doesn't matter if it's a little hokey the way I'm putting it together. So we're going to let this dry for a while, then we'll come back, we'll hit it with some sandpaper, and then I'll figure out what we're going to do from there. Hey guys, it's the next morning. I finally gave up last night. It was 97 degrees. I did as much of this as I could, and I just couldn't even think straight. So I'm starting at 7 o'clock in the morning. It's about 75 degrees. It's going to climb to 96 today, so I'm trying to get this done. So these are the two pieces that I showed you yesterday that I just basically carved out. And then I put a spacer between them, and this whole thing is pocket hole and glued in place. This whole thing sits right above the two back doors. So now I've got to figure out what to do for the vertical part of this. This actually does fit. Let me take you to the van and I'll show you. So this piece will sit right here. And it is cut around this piece, it's cut around these little corners here, and it's beveled, so hopefully it's sitting flush with the floor. I hope it is. I think it is. Probably have to do a little finagling before I completely screw it in, but that's basically how it's going to sit. Now I've got to build the vertical piece. So a little generic tip, probably a little off the subject, but I'm going to mention it anyway, because when I was going through here this morning, I moved something and I heard a squeak, and squeaks in a van drives me up the wall. So I've always said that when you're building this thing out, be careful of places where wood can rub against other wood, wood can rub against metal, and I found a spot that, listen to this. Imagine you had to listen to that while you were driving. That's why you want to make sure. Now this has a space behind it. I made sure before I cut wood, I would stick something behind there, so I know that nothing's touching back there. So I know that's only the case because I jammed this piece. It's not going to be there anyway. But the idea is just make sure that this thing isn't squeaking, because all you're going to do is hide a squeak behind the wall, and then you're never going to get rid of it. So I was going along here and just kind of grabbing stuff and pulling on it, and I noticed this right here makes a noise. I don't know what it is, but I get the feeling this thing is loose, or maybe something here rubs against the metal the wrong way. So I'm going to spend a little time before I put this shiplap up to get rid of that squeak, because you take that squeak and another squeak and another squeak and another squeak, and before you know it, your van sounds like a train wreck. So you want the thing to look good and sound good. So just before you seal anything up, go the extra mile, and then when you're building it, just make sure nothing rubs against nothing else. And that's your PSA for the day. So today has been all about scribing this. So I've spent probably the last 2 hours making this piece right here that would fit right about there. And I started by scribing it to the ceiling, and then I used one of my mother's tricks. And you basically go along with an envelope or something, and you can figure out where it hits. Right? And then you'll go back and you'll shave that piece down, and then you'll keep doing this until you get pretty even. That was my mom's trick. First time I saw somebody scribing on YouTube, I'm like, what, you don't have an envelope? But it was a good trick. So one thing I was worried about was the lights behind here, because if you want to remove the tail lights, you certainly have to go in through here. But it looks like all these lights up here are accessible from the outside. So I'm going to go outside, see if I can unscrew it and change one of the light bulbs, so that I know that once I cover this, it's covered completely. And I'll probably, before I cover it, I will probably run another piece of this conduit with a wire through it, just in case I need to feed something through to the other side. We are not blocked off. So again, think ahead, make sure you don't have to end up taking a bunch of crap apart. So that's it, let's go outside. So I did verify that you can actually take these things out and change the bulb from out here. So looks like we don't have to access this from the inside. We can access it all from out here. So we know we can safely cover this up and we won't have any problems. Those things down there cannot be covered up, because if you want to change a bulb back here, you've got to access it through there. So these, by the way, are these screws that hold these things in place are a Torx T15. So if you have a Promaster, you probably want to have one of those handy. But I'm going to go ahead and screw this back in, and then we'll get back inside. So I figured I'd give you a quick rundown, recap of what we've done here. So if you remember, the first thing we did was we made these two pieces. This is one of them right here, and then there is the opposing piece, and these are 1x6 select pine that I basically carved down to fit the corners of the van. I figured out how far apart they were supposed to be, and I put this spacer in the middle, and it's held in with glue and Craig screws. So that was that piece. The second thing I did was I took another piece of pine and I scribed it to the ceiling. Once I had it scribed to the ceiling, it is also connected to this piece with glue and Craig screws. The only thing left is, so this piece is not actually going to touch the metal frame of the van in the back, so there's going to be some space. So I've put these spacer blocks in here. These had to be 1 3/8 inch, so basically I put a 3/4 inch piece and then I ran another piece through the table saw to make it thinner, so this together is 1 3/8. So now this is glued in and it sits really nice up there. I've just got to figure out how to attach it. They do have long 3-inch wood to metal self-drilling screws at the local store here, so I'm about to go see if I can get some of those, because then I can drive right through here into the van framing, and from on the bottom do that as well. I put in some plus nuts. I'm not sure if I'm going to be able to use them. I may just use self-tapping screws and some construction adhesive, but that's what we've got so far. So yeah, a lot of work to cover up that one little area, but it'll make it look much nicer. So this is also a bit heavier. This is probably about 5 pounds of wood, which I really didn't want to use, but I'm not sure how I could have gotten around it. If I had run the ceiling closer to the back of the van, I wouldn't have needed all this space, and that would have made it certainly lighter. But food for thought for next time. So just to show you how this fits, if I could redo anything, I would have run these ceiling pieces right to this metal. I did, and I left about, it's probably 1.5 inches in there, which now I've got to make this 1.5 inches longer to compensate to come over that. If I had run them right to the end, I probably could have screwed some wood into here and here and called it a day. So just so you see what this looks like. So it fits really well. It's going to be painted white, so we'll be able to caulk some of these spaces up here. So it does fit pretty well. Just got to figure out how am I going to screw this in. So the silly putty trick, I had read about this, but I was almost too embarrassed to even try it. I wasn't even going to mention it. I had these plus nuts drilled into the bottom of here. So the question was, how am I going to possibly find those? They're sort of all over the place. So I basically took this stuff, this cheap silly putty I got at the dollar store. I approximated where on the wood these were. I slapped a silly putty on. I jammed the wood up there, and you could easily see where these 4 things were. I drilled the holes, and all 4 of them match. So I actually was able to hold this thing up to the ceiling with just these 4 plus nuts. So now I want to find where this one is and where this one is on the wood. So I'm going to try that silly putty trick again. I'm going to put some silly putty in the back of the wood, put these 4 screws in, push it up against it, and see if I can find that one, that one and that one. And between those 2 and the bottom 4, that thing will hold up nice and tight. So we've got some of the silly putty here and there. I've made a mark because I know that's approximately where those plus nuts are. We're going to try this, but my gosh, this trick works super well. And that is the result. I mean, could that be any cooler, right? A dollar solution to finding the plus nut. So now I basically drill down through that, and I know there's a plus nut location there and another one over there. So Tanya did an amazing job painting the piece that goes here. It's inside drying right now. Before I hang it, and by the way, the silly putty thing actually worked. It worked for all 4 of these holes down bottom. It worked for this one. This one was just a little off, probably the way I drilled it. You can see where I was trying, where the bolt was trying to go in. So I just kind of had to make the hole a little bit bigger, but then it lines up and goes in there. So it holds up nice and tight. What I want to do is keep it, it seems to be squeaking against the ceiling. So I'm going to put some probably felt between the ceiling and that wooden piece so it doesn't squeak. I'll probably put some felt down here as well, and maybe on the points where it touches this wall, just so nothing squeaks. For these corners, I'm not really sure what to do. I might end up building some kind of corner piece of wood. I'm not sure. For now, I'm basically going to take that leftover headliner fabric, and I'm going to glue it here. That way at least we don't see this area. So if I never get around to finishing it, at least it'll look like something that's not bare metal. So we're gonna try that. I've seen people do different things. I saw carpet, like thin carpet. I figure we'll just use the headliner fabric. Fabric on walls makes me think of like cheap Jersey Shore hotels, but we're gonna ignore that and do it anyway. So as you can see, Tanya did an amazing job painting this. She'd actually be here, but she's next door painting the little girl's bedroom. Heart of gold, that woman. Why she married me, I really don't know, but I'm not gonna complain. So she painted this last night, and we are going to attach it today. What I want to do is put some something between here and the ceiling so that it doesn't make any noise. So I found this stuff, camper mounting tape. Cushions and helps prevent vibrations and rattles. And to be. So my plan is to, I guess it's self-adhering. I'm going to take this off and I'm going to put it on any edges that are going to either touch metal or other wood. Then we're going to screw it in place. That's it. So here is the final product, and we are really happy with how it came out. Tanya did a beautiful job. She painted it yesterday. It's dried. She went ahead and touched up the corners with some plastic wood and filled in all the nail holes, painted over them. It looks really nice. This channel that we left here, so there is a wire right here that runs to our DC power supply. And this will basically feed, we'll have a switch here, and this will turn on some LED lights. We'll run the wire behind the shiplap. It'll come up through this channel, and we will run a strip of LED lights. That's why we left this kind of ledge here, for us to hide the LED lights in. But other than that, really happy with the way it came out. If we ever have to take it down, we could probably find the screw holes and pull it down, but doesn't make any noise. It's pretty solid. We also put this little piece of trim. This is like a 1/4 by 1/4 square. I just ran up some wood on the table saw, stuck it up here, and painted it so that covers up the edge. And overall, looks really nice. So guys, thanks once again for joining. Hopefully you got something out of this. This is a weird area to take care of, but hopefully we gave you some good ideas on how to do your van. So if you liked the video, please click that thumbs up button and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already done so. We'll be back next week. I'm actually gonna, you can see Tanya did a beautiful job painting this wall. I'm about to finish up on that wall, install the other window frame, and we'll be back next week to show you exactly how we did it. So until then, have a wonderful week. Happy July 4th, and take care.